morning. It is May the 4th, and May the 4th be with you. I'm meteorologist Craig Muller. You found us here on the Weather Desk, where we always talk about today's top weather headlines. And we've got a great show lined up, a lot going on that we want to get to, and we can run through some of the topics we're going to be addressing on today's edition of the Weather Desk. We have Virginia drought impacts. Drought has been a big story, not only here in the Commonwealth, but across much of the country, especially the southeast, and then out across parts of the Intermountain West, back out through the Rockies. Colorado's been hit, but back into Utah and areas down in the southwest U.S., they've been dealing with it as well. In fact, we're going to talk about some new water restrictions and kind of targeted restrictions for parts of Colorado. There's at least one community there aiming to reduce their water usage by 80%. So we'll get into that. We're also going to take a look at an area, instead of talking about areas in need of rain, we're going to talk about one area that was hit with excessive amounts, Hawaii. If you've been a regular viewer of the Weather Desk, you know we've been talking a lot about this. In March and April, we had those storms back-to-back kind of Kona lows, which produced so much rain, they now have a shortage of flowers in Hawaii. Think about things like those beautiful leis that they present travelers with coming to and leaving the island. Big part of the culture and the kind of the tradition in Hawaii. Well, they're actually having problems now because there was so much rain that a lot of the flower crops have been damaged. We're also going to talk about how to track storms without radar. Yeah, there's a way you can do that. If you've got a storm bearing down on you, there's a little trick to know how far away it is, whether it's moving closer or away from you. We'll talk more about that. It's also Hurricane Preparedness Week. Nationally, there are steps you should be taking now, even though the hurricane season officially starts June 1. Over the last decade or two, it seems like we've been getting a few more of these systems coming in a little bit before the start of the official hurricane season. So now that we're into early May, it's time to start thinking about your property, about your family plan, all that type of stuff. And we'll run through some important reminders with Hurricane Preparedness Week. Then we'll have the week ahead for Hampton Roads. Is there some much needed rain in the forecast? The answer is yes. Eventually, we came through a great weekend here in Hampton Roads, but it was chilly. Now temperatures are starting to warm up, but we'll talk about when we could eventually see some rain around here. But we're going to start off with a look at the dry conditions. And Hampton Roads yesterday was 63. That was at Norfolk officially. Our normal high is 75. But I'm starting off with this almanac to show you for Norfolk, we are 4.93 inches below, almost 5 inches below average, and we need rain. We're not going to see anything today. We're not going to see anything Tuesday. Wednesday late, there's a chance we might see a couple of stray showers. Better chances for some scattered wet weather on Thursday, and then a much better chance Monday into Tuesday of next week. But again, rain has been, or the lack thereof has been, the big story. And you can see we are still left with moderate drought across Hampton Roads. This includes the south side, northeast North Carolina and the peninsula, Hampton, Newport News, Poquoson, parts of York. Once you go farther to the west in York, you pick up severe drought, and that's the case Williamsburg, James City County, the Middle Peninsula, the northern neck to eastern shore, all under severe drought. Same deal out in Surrey, Sussex, Southampton, these areas under severe drought, and that's the case south of the Albemarle Sound, including the Outer Banks down around Nags Head and Manio, just about up to Corolla back in that moderate drought. Then you get out around Emporia and Roanoke Rapids, you have extreme drought, and we're seeing more of that filling in back across the central portions of Virginia. Now, for Richmond, this area, they are currently under severe drought, and this has been a big problem. So we're going to talk about the National Drought Monitor here in a moment, but I just wanted to show you we are facing drought conditions right here in Virginia. Rain Covell heard from some farmers just outside of Richmond who say this is the worst drought they've seen in decades.
I planted these beans April 1st, and And once they came up, they have not gotten any bigger, no rain.
And that no rain is causing problems for farmers across the Commonwealth.
If you look at the state drought monitor, the whole state is pretty much in trouble.
Billy Bain is a well-known and a long-established farmer in Virginia. He's testified in front of Congress 6 times on behalf of agriculture. At 81 years old, 2026 marks his 58th year planting crops here in Dinwiddie County.
You know, we had to stop planting because it's so dry.
Andy says it's one for the history books.
In my opinion, it's the worst ever. We always use 1980 as a benchmark for a terrible drought.
Combining a lack of rain, high input cost, and low commodity prices, Billy says farmers are hurting. Rain could help quench some of the pain. Billy Bain says these soybeans didn't have enough moisture in the ground to stand a chance.
This field we're in right now is going to have to be replanted, and it looks like maybe 1 or 2% have come up. You see plants like you got to plant here and you skip 18 inches and then you got 3, and in that period we should have had 20 plants and we only have 4.
As for their 1,000 acres of corn,
I haven't witnessed it this dry in April ever.
As for this cornfield, Billy's grandson Aaron says,
yeah, just looking to see if there's some moisture. There's a little bit in this ground because it's had some deep tillage this year. But I mean, it's not enough to make a seed come up. It's just powder dry. There's nothing to it.
And if a lack of rain isn't bad enough,
this field got a little bit of frost damage.
And the hay planted to support the farm's cattle?
Well, the dry weather shortened it. We should have had our first cutting of hay in the barn, but it's out there, you know, the growth is about a third of what it should be.
Crews spent much of Thursday morning working on equipment to plant peanuts. But peanuts need the rain just like the other crops. Double B Farms could irrigate, but free pond water actually costs money to use since it takes electricity or diesel fuel to run the pumps.
It's very costly per day, especially when you're looking at diesel fuel prices.
So frustrating for those farmers, and again, we certainly need the rain. Down into North Carolina, look at how much of the Tar Heel State is under this extreme drought, and we're seeing exceptional drought now just off to the east of Charlotte. So again, our region certainly needs a lot of rain, and there's one other part of the country we really want to focus on right now, out in Colorado. Again, exceptional drought and extreme drought for so much of Colorado, and this is going to be a big problem out there. It already is, but is continuing to expand. There's another county that's now cutting water consumption by 80%. Spence Breed has the story.
They're saying this is the worst drought in 130 plus years, and I'd believe it. I've never seen the river this low and our water supply in such short supply.
Because of the dry weather, Mesa County is reducing irrigation and domestic water consumption, lowering their water usage by up to 80%.
We have never seen anything like this, and I've been here 21 years with the Parks Department.
This means some parks won't even have their water systems turned on, while others will be watered significantly less. At the same time, many downtown landscapes around buildings will see little to no water.
Across the board, we're working on sprinkler adjustments. We're reducing watering frequency to once every 10 to 14 days.
The limited water that is used will be focused on areas that are used a lot, like athletic fields.
Water is important for the safety of the fields, or actually it's the safety of the players, but we have to maintain a soft playable surface, and under drought conditions they can become too hard and compact to play on.
They'll also prioritize watering trees and shrubs over grass.
We're going to make sure they stay alive because those are assets that are hard to regrow. Grass I can regrow in one season, so this year may look rough, but next year everything will be back to beautiful.
These changes could save 7.5 million gallons of water in domestic water systems, and even more in irrigation systems. County officials say this will leave more water for things like agriculture.
They need water. Water is their lifeblood. You know, water inside our parks is a recreation. It's something that we enjoy doing. It's something that's important to people, but it's not necessarily an economic driver like the agricultural industry is.
All right, while the mainland U.S. is dealing with the impacts of too little water, it's a totally different story in Hawaii. After the break, how major flooding earlier this year is now impacting flower farms on the islands. Welcome back. We've talked about the dry conditions on the mainland. Our 50th state, though, Hawaii, a totally different story. Right now, they are dry, and that's great because they are recovering from back-to-back storms. Two different Kona lows caused widespread flooding on Oahu and Maui in March. Both systems dropped more than a month's worth of rain in a matter of days, causing at least $1 billion in damage. Now, 2 months later, flower farms are facing shortages after the storms wiped out much of their supply. Kimber Collins reports.
It smells amazing.
A 15-strand pikake lei, gone in a day. At the Hawaiian Lei Company, fewer hands and fewer flowers.
It's pretty horrible, actually.
Flooding across Oahu's North Shore and West Side destroyed months of work for flower farmers.
All of those flowers took a really big hit. With a 20-year flood like that, it really affected all the farmers and destroyed crops that they've been tending for a year.
Fragrant flowers like pikake, tuberose, and ginger, staples for local lei, are now in short supply. This week last year, the shop had nearly 18,000 plumeria blooms from local farmers. This year, 0. And instead of 10 lei makers preparing for the Lei Day rush, there are just 3. That shortage is already hitting business. Sales are down about 12% during what's normally the Super Bowl for flower shops.
Well, springtime to us is like our Christmas. This is our busiest time of the year.
With Mother's Day and graduation just days away, shops are now relying heavily on imported flowers like carnations and orchids to keep up. Statewide, agriculture officials say flooding caused millions of dollars in damage to Hawaii farms. While some relief programs exist, they're typically focused on food crops, not ornamental flowers used for lei. Still, even with fewer flowers, the meaning behind lei hasn't changed.
It's not the actual lei that you're trying to give, it's the act of giving.
So if you're planning to buy lei this season, shop owners say the message is simple: be flexible and plan ahead.
All right, coming up, we're going to explain a quick way you can figure out just how far away you are from a storm. I'll also have the severe weather outlook coming up. Welcome back to the Weather Desk. You can see Texas finally catching a break after dealing with days of severe weather. Want to show you something from Katy, Texas. Check this out. It's the moment a driver captured a lightning strike to a tree there. Isn't that wild? That's a look at dash cam video captured there in Katy, Texas. That's about 30 minutes west of Houston. The driver says she didn't realize what happened at first, but she could feel the heat from the strike. So wild to see that. All right, well, you don't always need fancy equipment to figure out just how far away you are from a storm. Meteorologist Hunter Forst explains.
Ever wonder how far away a thunderstorm is? Well, there's actually a simple method you've probably heard about. The next time you see lightning, start counting the seconds until you hear thunder. That time gap can tell you how far away the storm is. Here's how it works. Light travels almost instantly, but sound moves much slower, roughly around 750 miles per hour, or about 1 mile every 5 seconds. So when you see that flash, begin counting. 1 1000, 2 1000, 3 1000, until you hear the thunder. Then divide that number by 5. Every 5 seconds equals about 1 mile. So if you count 10 seconds, the storm is roughly 2 miles away. If it's 20 seconds, about 4 miles. Now here's the important part. If that number is getting smaller, the storm is getting closer. Once you hear thunder, you're already close enough to be struck by lightning, so that's your cue to head indoors. For 13 News Now, I'm meteorologist Hunter Forst.
All right, we're going to take a quick look at the severe weather outlook across the country today. There's some light showers out west, a little bit off to the north, but as far as the severe weather outlook goes, it's going to be the central U.S., specifically Missouri, with a level 2 threat now, and that extends from the Kansas City area all the way towards St. Louis. There is a level 2 or a slight risk for severe storms. Now, there's a level 1 or marginal risk from north of Dallas all the way up through the southern Great Lakes. We'll take a little closer look at this. And again, the St. Louis Metro north up through Kirksville and back out towards Kansas City. This is the area under that level 2 threat. The tornadic threat is actually a little farther to the east from southern Michigan across Indiana and central Illinois. And again, it's just a slightly elevated risk for that. But the communities from just west of Detroit out through Kalamazoo down through Fort Wayne, Indiana, Champaign, Illinois, Peoria, back down from Quincy, Illinois towards St. Louis. That's the area that'll watch for the elevated risk with tornadoes. Winds are going to be the general bigger concern. I think you'll see some more outflow from some of the storms, and there is some potential kind of a second tier elevated risk for hail. And I can tell you this area saw some hail earlier in the week. Last Monday, I was actually visiting family in the Midwest, and we were seeing marble-sized hail. I was able to go out there and actually pick up some of the hailstones that were falling across this part of the country. So they are bracing for this next round, again, of potential severe weather. All right, we're going to take one more quick break, and coming up in 2 minutes, the work week, the look ahead for Hampton Roads. That, and it's just about hurricane time, the Atlantic hurricane season, less than a month away. We've got details on what you need to do now to get prepared. Welcome back to the Weather Desk. I'm meteorologist Craig Moeller. You know, we're now less than a month away from the start of the Atlantic hurricane season. But we want you to know this is the time you need to prepare now. It's National Hurricane Preparedness Week, and every day through Saturday, the National Hurricane Center and the National Weather Service are going through some important safety reminders. Now, today's top topics, what we want you to focus on today, some things you need to do around your house, okay? So now's the time to prepare your home before the season starts, okay? Now's the time to make sure you've got hurricane flood insurance. You think about this, normal homeowners insurance doesn't protect you from flooding, and you want to make sure if you live in a vulnerable area that you already have these things. You can't wait until a hurricane's bearing down to go out and get your insurance. You need to, a lot of times, have 30 or sometimes there's 60-day waiting periods before. So you need to make sure that your home is properly and completely insured before the start of the season. You also want to go around and maybe check out your property, make sure there's nothing vulnerable. Maybe you've got like an old tree that's kind of dying and hanging over your house. You want to make sure that that stuff is kind of pared away, and you want to put together a plan for your family as well. What would you do if there was a hurricane or a tropical storm to threaten our area? Do you have a plan in place? Do you know where you'd go if you had to evacuate? You also want to know your zone, and that's part of understanding the risks to your property. Are you in an area that would flood if we had, you know, a 3 or 4 foot storm surge? Would you need to evacuate? Are you in a high enough or protected area? These are all important questions, and now is the time to answer those questions before the systems develop and before we're really into the hurricane season. And finally, understanding that storm surge danger. Again, you get flooding rain. That happens sometimes from heavy tropical rains, but you also have to worry about the wind-driven storm surge, which moves along with these. So these are all things that you should be well aware of. And as we get into the hurricane season, we'll be doing more and more features right here on 13 News explaining all of this. Just want to give you that heads up. Hurricane season here before you know it. Fortunately, the Atlantic basin is very quiet and no tropical activity is expected over the coming week. It's quiet out there right now on the Elizabeth River as we check in with the Thompson Creek Window Company Skyview, and we're looking here at the marine forecast. We do have small craft advisories that'll be going up later today for the bay and for the ocean. As we take a look again out there, the skies are mostly sunny. It does look pretty good right now. We're going to enjoy a lot of sunshine, and the wind south-southwest at 15 miles per hour. All right, here's a look at the allergies today. We've got those pollen levels up with tree and grass. Both are high. Mold is low. As we take a look at the temperatures, we're in the upper 50s to low 60s right now. We'll be in the low 70s around midday today. It is going to be a sunny afternoon, or at least mostly sunny. Had some clouds early this morning. That's all thinning out, and we will enjoy a lot of sunshine. So very, very excited about what will be a beautiful afternoon. We need rain, so when the rain comes, that's not a bad thing. That'll be a blessing. But if you've got outdoor plans today or tomorrow, you'll be in really good shape. Tomorrow, warmer temperatures into the lower 80s. As we get into Wednesday, you start to notice the clouds on the increase. Eventually, shower chances increase, and we will see good chances for scattered wet weather coming up on Thursday. Highs today, upper 70s across the south side. We'll enjoy the sunshine while we have it. Upper 70s, Poquoson and Hampton, Williamsburg, Newport News, Gloucester at 77. A little cooler on the eastern shore. Outer Banks, low 70s there. Upper 70s from Windsor to Edenton and around Elizabeth City. Tonight's low down around 60, mainly clear skies. Tomorrow back up to 83. As we look at that week ahead, you're going to find the chances for a few showers late Wednesday, better chances for scattered wet weather on Thursday. Friday and Saturday, low risk of an isolated shower or two, kind of hit and miss. Again, we'll take whatever rain we can get. Mother's Day looks great. Partly cloudy for Mom. Highs in the mid-70s to upper 70s. There'll be more chances for rain Monday and Tuesday of next week. All right, that's going to do it for this edition of the Weather Desk. Again, I'm meteorologist Craig Moeller. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you next time from the Weather Desk.